It's time for another set of over-the-air updates, making adjustments to cards in Marvel Snap. This week we have 2 buffs, 2 nerfs, and 1 what I'm going to classify as a side grade, where the card's changing to be better in some situations and worse in others. Let's go ahead and jump right into it, shall we? Our first buff is a return to his former glory. Cerebro 5 enjoyers rejoice. Dr. Doom will once again be making 5 power Doom bots. I personally wasn't a fan of this nerf when it first happened. I'm glad to see it getting undone. Not only have cards like Spider-Ham that provide direct counterplay to Dr. Doom been added to the game, but we have Captain Marvel as a widely played card that can help contest his lanes, and the lockout decks that really caused Doom to become popular, that were playing cards like Storm and the original prison design of Spider-Man. Those decks aren't on top of the metagame anymore, meaning that Dr. Doom should have a lower natural play rate because it isn't really a card that's going to attack the top players in the format anymore. Overall, I really love Doom being symmetrical, and I'm glad to see him be restored to his original stat line that he had in Marvel Snap. Our second buff this week is to Lady Deathstrike getting increased from starting 3 power to starting 4 power while remaining at 5 energy. Second Dinner notes that they wanted to start the dial on Lady Deathstrike a little bit low and then slowly dial her up, as opposed to overshooting to begin with, because the type of effect that Lady Deathstrike have, while novel and fun, can definitely be toxic and overbearing if it's really prevalent and powerful. This increase to a base 4 power alongside the last buff to Forge means that Lady Deathstrike can pretty easily get to 7 points of power, meaning that she's going to blow things up like Silk or Miles Morales or Stature. Is this going to be enough to make her playable in the metagame? I don't know, but an extra point of power definitely can't make her worse than she already is. So I'm happy to see Second Dinner turning her up a little bit to see if we can get her into a playable state. The first of our 2 different nerfs coming this week is one that I was definitely expecting. We are shaving 1 point of power off the top for Legion, who will now be a 5/7 as opposed to the original 5/8 stat line that he released with. Second Dinner notes that Legion has consistently appeared in a variety of strong decks and has been one of the top performing Marvel Snap cards in recent weeks. Past just the raw strength of what Legion brings to the table, he also reduces location variance, which is a key experience to keeping Marvel Snap games fresh and interesting. Personally, I'm surprised they only took 1 point of power off of Legion. I think in a lot of situations, this card can be a total blowout. You get a little bit ahead on the board and you copy something like Death's Domain or Luke's Bar, or you even create chaos with something like Rickety Bridge, and Legion can just completely swing a game in your favor that wasn't going to go your way any other way. The ceiling on this card is really high, and even with 7 points of power, I expect the floor to be relatively reasonable as well. I really don't expect Legion to see any less play with 1 less power bringing to the board. Our second nerf this week is Captain Marvel being reduced from a 4/5 down to a 4/4. When they originally wanted to shake things up by buffing Captain Marvel, they weren't sure exactly where she was going to land, and as things have settled, Captain Marvel has been a key centerpiece in 2 of the top performing decks in Marvel Snap's metagame, that Kraven Angela Little Movers deck being one, and the Zabu Darkhawk deck being another. Second Dinner notes that bringing her down to a 4/4 might reduce her playability to a point that they're not happy with. They're going to wait and see how things shake out and then reevaluate their position on her in the future if they need to. Our final OTA update this week is Rock Slide, going from a 4/5 down to a 3/3 while still shuffling 2 rocks into your opponent's deck. While this obviously makes Rock Slide worse at adding power to whatever path he is contained in, this makes the card better in a lot of Darkhawk shells overall in terms of consistency. In the Zabu Darkhawk shells that have been really popular, those decks really struggle to have meaningful plays on the second and third turns of the game in the games where you don't draw Zabu. So being able to just organically curve something like a Blizzard or a Silk or a Jeff into Rock Slide on 3, into a 4-drop like Darkhawk on 4 seems like it will be quite good. This Rock Slide change also feels like it's going to be a pretty meaningful upgrade to Darkhawk decks that are not looking to try and play Zabu, which honestly I think will probably be more of them now that Rock Slide's not a 4-drop as well. Shang-Chi specifically has felt kind of clunky in the metagame, so if you're moving away from that tech card with Darkhawk being one of your only 4-drops, Rock Slide no longer needing Zabu to be played out on the third turn of the game seems like it's going to be a pretty big deal. Getting those rocks more consistently into your opponent's decks early means they have more chances to brick a draw with the disruptive effect from it. Overall, I think this change is really sweet. I've also experimented in the past with Darkhawk decks that play Beast to replay things like Korg and Black Widow, but those decks usually don't play Rock Slide because bouncing and replaying a 4 energy card is just too cumbersome. With Rock Slide only being 3 energy now, I don't think that's the case anymore, and I'm really excited to kind of explore Darkhawk shells with a new look overall since this lower curve is being brought to the table. Second Dinner closes out by noting that they know this is a little bit of a nerf heavy week overall. It's probably a little bit less exciting than some of the other OTA updates that we've had, but they also note that September is just around the corner, and most noteworthy, September 5th will be bringing with it a Marvel Snap patch that typically has more card updates in it as well. Remember, these over-the-air updates can only adjust numbers on cards up or down, whereas the patches, like what's coming on September 5th, can change card text. So hopefully cards like, say, Snowguard that desperately needs some kind of text box change will be getting a revamp when that rolls around the corner. Overall, I think I would be inclined to agree with the assessment that these changes are a little bit less exciting than some of the others, but I think they're all still pretty good changes all around. Captain Marvel and Legion making the Little Movers deck a little bit worse is a welcome change. Rock Slide is going to bring an entirely new dynamic to Darkhawk decks, I think, and the buff to Lady Deathstrike as well as restoring Doctor Doom to his former glory gives someone like me happy things to go exploring with while we wait for the new season to be right around the bend with Loki and other sweet cards. If you didn't see my review on those ones, I'll link that in the video description down below. As always, thanks for watching, and I would love to know what deck ideas you've got cooking up with all these fresh OTA changes. Also, if you're someone who's new, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Almost half of the people that watch these videos aren't subscribed. It's free to click that button and make sure you ring that bell if you want notifications for everything that's going on here. I post Marvel Snap breakdowns like this one, as well as game news updates and sweet deck highlights with different brews here 7 days a week. I'd love to see you back again sometime. Thanks for watching, folks, and happy snapping out there.